Writing can't be that hard. All it is just putting words in front of each other, right? Update! The wrong words are in front of each other. This is the worst thing ever to happen. Me. Has new writing idea. Also me. Only puts down one half sentence that will never make sense again and doesn't explain anything. Me, a writer. Hey, I can tell you about cryo-freezing, quantum computing, and how it is the most likely possibility of us getting a strong AI, how to rig a majority vote in the 1920s, and how radios used to influence elections back then, as well as urbanism or treatment of celebrities, especially in the music industry. Also, I know about how planes work, which temperatures can kill you, and what happens to your body when you get hit by a car, and if you're not into that stuff, I know a little about astrophysics too. Cool, but can you make small talk like a normal human being? I'm going to write today, I said. Just a few words in this work in progress, I said. There are 18 new open tabs. I've come to the conclusion that corpses don't cool down quick enough. I renamed all but one character and realized that I don't have the vocabulary to describe the weird 19th century hairdo I found in between. I am now very knowledgeable about East Frisian naming traditions from the Middle Ages to the Second World War. What for, you ask? I do not know. Some writers actually know what they're doing, but me, the way I use semicolons is that I just use them and hope for the best. Ignoring parts that still need to be written, for rewriting parts you've already finished. Me, age 12. I can't make my adult character do that. That's not adulty enough. An adult would never do something so immature like that. Me, age 25. You know what? A 27-year-old character being immature is 100% age appropriate. You have depth. You will have a substantial emotional arc. You have unexplored trauma. You will have an integral role to play in the narrative. Your pain will be shown. You will cry. You will have so much screen time. The writers have an amazing and fully realized plan for you. Side character who was just made to be funny and stupid. Does anyone else write AUs for their own OCs even though it's not even published because they're so in love with figments of their own imagination and are too impatient to wait to publish the book and grow a fandom and let other people do it for them? No, Grandma, one work in progress at a time, like this. Whoops, I made 17 new Google Docs. My brain will just create new works in progress against my will. It'll just start going. I have no say in which one I work on. In fact, WIP actually stands for Writer in Peril. Help! Hey, I went to finishing your works in progress island. Yeah, nobody knew you there. And what about it? Not all works in progress are for completion. Some are just to get the wiggles out. I know this is a joke, but that's such a good point. Some stories really are just to get the wiggles out. The goal of hoarding notebooks as a writer is not to use the notebooks, but to feel like they could be used. A mental bolstering tactic such as dragons collecting gold but never spending it. Me, a writer. I can't write that, someone's already done that idea. Also me, a reader, when I see 1,000 fics with exact same premise, knowing I'll happily read every single one. When your brain produces a fancy word from thin air and you check its meaning and it's exactly what you needed in the sentence. Nothing hits quite like the moment when you're writing and you end your chapter or segment on such an insane sentence with a perfect match of impact and cliffhanger and you're left sitting there like Pacha from The Emperor's New Groove when the sun hits that ridge just right. I love when I have an idea for a new story and I think to myself, I'll just write the idea down and come back to it later. And then I make a whole outline for it with thorough backgrounds on all the characters, 2 playlists, 3 chapters already written and plans for a sequel in under 12 hours, obsess over it for a few weeks, and then never touch it again. You know what I find annoying? When you open a Word document after a couple of days and you realize little helper mice haven't written it for you in the night, and you now need to write it. What's up with that? Me while editing. Adds a sentence. Finds nearly identical sentence in the next paragraph. I hate when books don't make sense. Unless I'm the one writing them, in which case it was an artistic choice and I for sure did it on purpose. Me thinking about my writing? This is the best thing I ever wrote. It's absolute cringe. This is the best thing I ever wrote. It's absolute cringe. This is the best thing I ever wrote. It's absolute cringe. This is the best thing I ever wrote. It's absolute cringe. Ah, yes, my favorite part of editing. actually having to fill in the insert clever clue here placeholders I so optimistically left in my first draft. Me describing women's clothing. She wore a cream blouse with lace detailing on the collar and sleeves. Her skirt, which had layers of fabric printed with tiny violets and sage green curls for leaves, fluttered in a gentle breeze. The bouncy coils of hair atop her head were ornamented by a crown of alabaster roses and lush green leaves that looked too fragile to be made of plastic. Me describing men's clothing. He wore a shirt. I hate being a writer. I had to describe someone to the cops, and I was like, he looks like his father has money. Smells of cigars and whiskey, and has an arrogant chin. Writers and artists naming their characters. This name sounds pretty cool, but I don't know. I'll look at 100 plus other names, not only to be sure this is what really works for the character, but also if it works for the world they're in, as well as good and bad nicknames you can make from the name. People naming their real-life kids. Well, I named baby one Pebbles, with a Z, of course, because when they were born, their toes looked like little pebbles. I named baby two Aishchilia because I've always loved the name Ashley, but I wanted this little cutie to be unique. And for the third and final baby, I named them Cheez-It, because their other parent and I shared Cheez-Its on our first date. People always ask me how I name and develop my characters, and I'm always like, she appeared in my dreams and I named her Lemons. I don't know how to help you. Every time I'm like, cool, this conversation is over. I can move on now. The characters decide to keep talking. Shut up so I can move on, guys. Stop having interesting and helpful things to say. What it's like writing a post-apocalyptic adventure. Compelling plot? Bullshit. Complex world building? Bullshit. Two characters having a conversation about canned goods? That? I love. I absolutely love. I love that writing feeling where a story starts going in a very different direction than the one you initially intended, but somehow this new direction actually achieves your desired goals way better than the original plan would have done. Writing is super fun. You're inventing a fictional couple, and then in the process of making them get together, you're researching how hydrogen cyanide kills at 3 a.m. Out, publishing your work. In, filling hundreds of little notebooks that will be discovered after your death. Character voice is, I think, one of the hardest parts of writing, and here's 2 charts to explain my thoughts on why. The intention. Character A, overly formal. Character B, quick to talk first. Character C, words are usually carefully thought out, prefers to talk last. They have shared mannerisms because they grew up together. Character D and E are both rude, but D is less eloquent and quick to crack jokes, and E is more eloquent. Rhetoric is a game, eager to appear smart and witty. But the thing I think is maybe happening, which I have no idea how to check or prevent, is that all of this is encompassed by very specific manners of speech that you, the author, think are normal because you talk like this every day of your life. You've been injecting all your characters with all your you-isms unintentionally. They're everywhere. Purple prose? More like violacious verse, am I right, boys? I'm killed by a falling thesaurus. Writing advice is always like, oh, you need to know your characters super well. No, all I have ever needed to know is that they are 1, hot, and 2, morally questionable. That is it. I have a brand new OC, they're very cool. OC is trauma and multiple mental illnesses in a trench coat. Shout out to all the stories that didn't make it out of the shower with us in time to actually be written down. Me rewriting the same story arc for the 4th time since its creation because I got a new idea of how it would play out. I wish the magic systems in modern YA fantasy used the oddly specific rules in folktales. This woman magically cooks rice, but only if you don't look at the grain stack under the house. You can do incredible things, but you need some beans first. This beast can be subdued by the lullaby of a bone flute. Bone, not a regular one. Why? I don't know, man, it just works like that, just go along with it. Me writing a story where every character is the most layered character I've ever written. Me adding in a silly little side character to lighten things up. They become the most complex and dark character in the entire story. Me when I have to kill off the character I made explicitly to be killed off, but got attached to. Me at 3 a.m. trying to sleep. I'm the hand that feeds and the hand that starves. I give my characters the gift of sight just to take it away when they need it the most. I give them hope where everything else fails and watch that hope flicker and die only to reignite. They are an extension of myself, my blood, my bone, but above all, they're something else entirely. Yet I still pull the strings. How would they ever react knowing that their actions are not their own? That I can ruin them as I see fit. That I can make them rise to glory if I deem it so. I am infinite in my power. Literally any other time. Empty document page. As a reader, I hate when books seem like they're about to end, but there's still too many pages, or when books are about to end, but there's not enough pages for everything to happen. As a writer, I hope this hurts the reader as much as possible. Instead of writing a character outline for your story full of bullet points, what if you just flat out interviewed them? I'd happily read 5 pages of my favorite authors sitting in a living room asking their characters about their feelings on avocados for 5 minutes. You'd think this is a joke, but honestly, you start down that road and suddenly you're talking about their feelings on equality and human rights and their thought processes after the love of their life moved to Botswana, USA. For the love of God, write all the self-indulgent scenes you want. Be utterly shameless about including every last fantasy. I know everyone likes to share quotes and quips about how miserably hard writing is, but please, please try thinking of it as a joyful act where you get to be a messy human who makes art, rather than some pain-filled quest for icy perfection. Look, write as much crappy fic as you want. Nobody can stop you. You're learning constantly, and it's better to write hackneyed implausible ridiculousness than it is to not write at all out of fear of messing up. You're good. It makes me sad when writers are embarrassed by their old works. Like, you worked really hard on it, and at the time it was probably the best thing you had ever written. Writing anything is a great accomplishment, regardless of your writer maturity level, and you should be proud of your creativity. Who cares if you wrote a cringy 300,000-word Reader X One Direction member dystopian fanfic when you were 13? Play on, player! Thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed any of these posts and you're on Tumblr, go check out the people who made them, and give them a follow. I wish you all the best with your writing endeavors, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.